I'm Kim Stricker, and this is AI storytelling done right. Tim Winters, creative
I can
director
introduce
extraordinaire.
myself. Creative genius extraordinaire,
Oh boy.
the prince of pixels. No, I'm
Prince
none
of
of that.
Pixels.
Let's talk about AI and how it's taken over the
Yeah,
world.
we wanted to start a series to really just kind of dive into some of the things that we're seeing and really just kind of have an open discussion about, just kind of how AI is really changing the face of what we're doing on a day in and day out. And I know it's changing the face for our clients as well. So let's hop into it. Today, I know we wanted to talk about how VPs of communication are using AI without necessarily coming right out and saying it. But just kind of some of the things that we've been seeing from our side of things, and maybe just kind of chat a little bit about how some of those applications are doing right now. So let's hop into it, Tim.
Let's do it.
Perfect. So I think you and I have seen a lot of content changes specifically. I think that's really been the heavy lift from us, not only on the copy side of things, but also on the visuals.
Yep.
Um, and I think we've seen so much AI slop over the years, even just kind of I go back to that first ad that came out with McDonald's and how um, they had just kind of put stuff together that looked almost like I called it the yard sale, almost to some extent, where it was a little bit of content from every different face of marketing out there, and it just didn't necessarily sound cohesive, look cohesive, and I think that that's kind of the assumption that a lot of communications directors or marketing directors kind of have that AI is going to be slop. Would you agree on
Yeah,
that?
I agree. I think that there is a lot of slop out there. Um, a majority of it is slop that I'm seeing, and it's whether or not AI is really identifiable. Maybe we don't know that we're looking at AI and they're doing it really well. So there's a big gap between those two areas.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's why it took us so long to get into it. I say long, but I still feel like we're very early in the stages here. But I know you and I talked a lot about this of like, is this right? Is this going to look authentic? Is it going to kind of resonate with the audience? And I feel like we kind of found some places where it makes sense, right? And some areas
Right.
that maybe it doesn't make sense. I mean, you and I are running into it for internal as well as external communications, and seeing like where are the places we don't want to go, right? And
Right.
like where is it appropriate or inappropriate to have an AI bot talking or AI content generating and things like that. I mean,
And I think that is the key point is where is it appropriate? How is it being used? You should evaluate every project like you would before AI and say, do we want to make this CG? Do we want to make this lifestyle? Do we want real people? Is someone delivering a message to a whole corporation where you actually would want it to be authentic and not an AI robot? So
yeah.
yeah, I think we're getting to a point now where we really need to evaluate the project and how AI fits into it, and when it absolutely shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the early stages that I liked about AI when we were working on these projects together, like for instance, we were doing some internal communication events, right? And I love the fact that with AI, we could do like things that weren't normal. Like you could have somebody on the moon, you can have somebody in space, and you can kind of lean into the craziness of AI and have a lot of fun with it. And I think that we were able to accomplish that for a few of the brands that we work with, to really just kind of be playful and look at the absurdity of AI and kind of have fun with an AI twin of yourself, or where else could our technology be showcased, and really kind of I guess think big and like outside of like what the normal kind of
Yeah.
requirements and restrictions we have with shooting or
I
animation.
feel I feel like when you set that up initially, like immediately, it's identifiable. People just accept it more because they know what it is right away instead of
Yeah.
trying to fake it. And that's where little glitches of someone talking or weird eye blinks or things like that are just totally giveaways, and people know right away that it's fake. So why not just celebrate that it's fake right off the bat? And
Yeah.
because that's what we're trying to achieve is the mood or the setting or the tone, all of that using AI in a fun way.
Yeah, agree. I think that, that's a great application. I know we've been able to really kind of create excitement. One of the things that I liked about it is when we were looking at screen sizes and dimensions, like how, when we normally would create content for a normal screen, if they're doing like a 16 by 9 kind of thing at an event, that's one thing. But sometimes these screens are obscure and long and odd sizes, and the fact that AI made it really easy to size that and to keep resolution and pixel quality, Pixel King. And I think that that was a really big surprise for me, and that we were able to take that from that length, or we can even keep it very small within social, and have that small mobile device screen too. So I love the variety that we could kind of pull from, and it's very easy to make those. I say very easy because you're actually the one doing it, to make them whatever dimensions you really want. I mean, you could
Yeah.
do something different there. So
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it in this video, but um, AI really is a sandbox for creatives, and I know it's a very scary thing. I was very freaked out about it because, of course, everyone thinks it's going to take over the world, but I treat AI as if I'm collaborating with someone. It helps me get ideas. It helps really bring ideas that I've had for a long time to life that I've never been able to go hire a crew just to try out.
yeah,
I like the ability to try certain shots, or does this look right or does that look right, and oh, let's do it in a jungle, or no, it should be on the moon. And
yeah.
it's everything that I've always collected in my head as a creative person over the years. I'm able now to bring to life and test, which I love.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great application because when I was at Digital Summit in Chicago and somebody had asked the question, they're like, how do you use AI? I was speaking on storytelling, and they were like, well, how do you use AI when you're talking about all this realistic storytelling, these docu-series that you're creating? How does AI fit into that? And I said, well, AI was a great pitch piece, where we were able to communicate what the concept is. And like what you were saying, we're easily able to um, you know, give a visual representation and a visual story for it, even if it was only to an internal audience to get the idea across. And that way they have a really good idea of like, oh, okay, that's what you're going to be shooting, or that's what you're going to
Right.
be moving forward with. I mean, I think that was a great application that, we were able to kind of get it across the starting line. To get the client to buy in and move forward on it. So that was one of the things that I loved about it, is it just makes something that's normally you would just put together a PowerPoint deck and pitch that, and now we're able to really kind of give a little insight and give a little taste of what that's going to be too.
Yeah.
So
And instead of, something you've mentioned recently, instead of using prompts in a way where you're just uh, telling AI to create this or write this, it's best utilized, I feel, creatively to have it ask you questions. I
yeah,
think it really opens up a
that
dialogue.
back and forth.
It
Yeah,
helps you think of things that you've never thought of. It keeps digging at you a little bit more to get fresh ideas out of you. So
yeah.
I now, instead of create this, it's more like, let's work on this together. Where would you start? What
Hmm.
questions do you have about what I'm trying to accomplish? And then it really starts to get a lot more detailed, in depth, quality feedback from whatever AI platform you're using.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know we're talking on the visual side of things, but I think, one thing to note too is the copy side of things and that kind of content. I mean, I've been working with various directors, and like I know a lot of companies have Copilot. It seems to be like that's the B2B platform of choice. But I mean, I know you and I have been using Chat as well as Claude and Gemini, and just really kind of taking a look at all the differences and the strengths of each platform and kind of where they fit. And I mean, obviously this is ever evolving, but one thing I really liked is I feel like I'm now debriefing a little differently with my client side of things, where I'm like, tell me about things that you've seen that you like, and what are the tones, and like what's the feeling a little bit more. I'm kind of diving more into those kind of things, those descriptors. I call them the taste aspects of it, because that is the human element, I think, of AI that will never go away, is the taste
Right.
element, right? And I know you and I have talked about that too. And that really is, I think, the human differentiator, and how we can just find out more information and ask more insightful questions, so that when we are utilizing AI tools to kind of help facilitate and to fill in some blanks here and there,
Yeah.
it just has more context to pull from, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you cannot, and I'm writing in my spare time, short stories and things, but you cannot sit down at AI and have it write the next Stephen King novel. It doesn't work. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be using it that way. Again, it's about having AI ask you questions. You get a lot of AI emails, I'm sure, and they're very identifiable. I mean, it's always the M dash giveaway, but outside
Yeah.
of that, you can tell from the
I'm
tone.
thrilled. I'm thrilled
Yeah,
to be talking about this. Yes.
yeah,
The
yeah,
thrilled word
right,
is always
exactly. It
used. Yeah.
repeats words. It's not you because it's not you. And that's why I think there needs to be more AI generation and then AI reading, because you really need to read what is being created. Again,
Yeah.
it's thought provoking. It may change the tone of an email you're sending, or a line that you want to use for a campaign. You really have to read, and I think people
Yeah.
are trying to get away from having to read things, and they're just
Well,
pasting blindly, and
Well,
it really gives it
hallucinations are
away.
still a thing. I mean, we see them
Yes,
all the
yes,
time. I mean, you showed me a visual representation the other day when we were talking about we were doing some manufacturing content, and all of a sudden it put a man that was like without a shirt on the shop floor level, and it was
yeah.
like,
No
wait a minute,
idea
where did
why. Just
it come from?
random man doing his job but not wearing a shirt, and that was interesting. But
I don't know if
yeah, I
that's
mean,
OSHA approved.
again, it needs to be more conversational. It's not copy paste. It's not copy paste with visual, with video, with writing. It
Yeah,
is I spend a lot of time just to develop one image, because I want to change things a lot. I don't want it to take over. I want it to be my creative piece. So
yeah,
although I'm not out in the field with a camera, because for whatever reason I can't be in some cool place in Africa taking a photo, if I want to recreate that, I do research the same way I would. I spend time with the image. I try different angles, all of that. So it's
yeah,
not like any non-creative person can just pick it up and create a work of art.
yeah.
I feel.
No, I agree. I think, and on the strategic side of things too, it's with the brand, I think it's really just getting a better assessment of all things, and kind of having checks and balances put together, where it's like, okay, even leaning in more so to those brand standards of like, here's where we are visually, here's how we depict the brand, here's how we do it with the copy as well, and here's sayings that we would normally say, and here's the tonality. And I think sometimes when we're developing content, whether it's internal or external or for social or what have you, it's so important to you can enter all of that info for the GPTs and get that across, but also making sure, like what you're saying, Tim, is just keeping an eye on a lot of that stuff to make sure that it's resonating and continuing through all the way,
Yeah.
from the scripting to the shot lists, and to the development of the visuals that you have moving forward as well.
Yeah, and then I mean, how it's being used on the communication side or the client side, it's really about how we teach it to them. I feel, because there's a lot of trust that goes into this. There's a lot of nervousness. A lot of people don't understand it or have done a deep dive into it the way others have. So
Yeah.
There's an education part of this where we have to teach them the appropriate ways to use it, and you don't want to get a call from a client just saying, "Hey, put me in this place," and have me saying this, because it just may not be appropriate, and what are the ramifications of that, and all
Yeah.
that has to be taken into consideration.
100%. Yeah, for sure. I think, we also are seeing too of like, okay, so we're building these assets. And for instance, like the AI twin aspect of it, I know you and I are leaning into a little bit of that too. And I think there's a time and a place that you could develop a twin, a virtual replication of somebody in this AI space. But then it comes up of like, okay, well, who owns those assets? Where do you house those assets? Who has access to those assets?
Right.
Because it is so sensitive, especially if you're talking about C-suite level executives. And, how do you protect that space? I think that's always a discussion. And I know things are kind of getting worked out as we go. It is still the wild west of AI. And I know we've had many discussions with clients as to like, okay, well, let's make sure that they're under those strict policies too of where we're housing that. Is it on their
Yeah.
intranet, and is it password protected, and does it have all the securities
Right.
necessary for that too? I think there's a sensitivity around that, and then not only once you have that, then how are you using it? I mean, you and I talked about this, and we've been working with a client. It's like, okay, for the pitch process, we did some stuff with a CFO, and that was great. But do we need that moving forward? Do we want him as like an AI twin, or is it more
Right.
appropriate for him to just be discussing things in
Right.
a real life setting too? So those are, I think, good discussions to figure out, what that tone should be, and
Right.
where that cutoff.
When you have a CFO of a company or a CEO, you don't want a robot telling you the state of a company. I mean, it still needs to be
Right.
authentic, and
Yeah.
although they may look better and sound sound
More
better
polished,
delivering their
maybe
message,
sometimes. Yeah.
sometimes it's just not worth it. And AI twins are kind of like the movie Multiplicity, like the copy of you is not always you. So without reining it in, you don't want to appear down in Mardi Gras, on the streets of Mardi Gras as an AI twin. So everything needs to be everything needs to be protected. Everything should get permissions from the person who's giving their likeness up. There's some
Yes.
safeguards in place for that already, which is great, because yeah, you don't want your likeness, especially for more high profile clients or positions, getting out there and twisting the words that hey, I didn't
Yeah.
say that, and you don't want
Yeah,
that.
I mean, even though everything is, especially if they're public facing, it's readily available on, CNBC or CNN or
Right,
whatever, and
right.
anybody can technically rip those types of things, but because we are gathering things at a higher quality image level, I think
Yeah.
there definitely needs to be checks and balances
And
in
just like
place to
our
secure.
shirtless man example, you don't want a CFO of a company sending over a loose script, you generating it, and then blindly just, putting it together, because there may be one word in there that could mess up the whole thing and be taken the
Yeah,
wrong way. So
100%.
again, you have to very closely look at what you're generating, look at backgrounds on images and see what's back there, because I've seen all kinds of weird stuff that comes in, and you're about to go show this to a client and someone will see it and look for it. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I know we wanted to keep these short and sweet and just kind of, talk about a couple things every week and just kind of do some high level, discussions about it. So, I think we could probably wrap this up and just, one thing I just wanted to just kind of just reiterate too is that AI is definitely it's not going anywhere. It just keeps growing and growing, and what we're seeing is just some really great and very cool use cases that we could implement, like you said, as some great tools for our clients. It's not replacing the story. It's really just helping to tell it in a more effective and efficient way. And I know you and I both love that, and like that's one of the things that have attracted us to the platforms and to really dive in both feet into this world. So
Yeah,
Any last thoughts?
I mean, in a weird way, as a creative person, it gives me the ability to sit down and collaborate with Steven Spielberg, um,
Yeah.
because that it's you know, finding out everything about the movies he's made, choices he's made, and being able to pick the brain a little bit of what that is, which I find amazing. Of course, it's never Steven Spielberg, but at least if that's the tone you're going for on something, it's cool to have someone like that to bounce things off of and at least see what it inspires.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.